Hey everyone, it's that math magician. On this video, we're going to take a look at quadratics and we're going to see, can we use the zero product property to help us solve for some factors? And we have a quadratic equation right here. We have x squared plus 5x minus 14. It already equals 0. That's what we need first. It equals 0. So we want to see, can we solve this using the zero product property? And we can. We actually first, though, need to factor this quadratic. So we'll need to use the box and diamond method. If you are unfamiliar with that, don't worry. We're going to make sure we got you all set up here. So I got my box set up. I got my diamond set up. We just got to put the pieces where they need to go from that quadratic so that we can factor. Remember the x squared term, whatever this x squared term is right here, that goes in the bottom left corner. We then are going to take the right number, that constant, that's going to go up in the upper right corner. We put those there, and then we multiply them together to get this top spot right there. So what's negative 14 times x squared? Well, that is negative 14x squared. Last but not least, don't forget we have our x variable, the 5x. That piece always goes here on the bottom. And now's the point where we have to think about what two terms here, right? This is why we use this diamond problem here. What two terms are going to multiply to negative 14 and are going to add to 5, right? We're trying to get negative 14x squared. We're trying to get 5x's. What's going to multiply to get that? Now, there's a couple ways we can do that. One way is, some of you just might know it off the top of your head, but one way is to list the factors of 14. So I have 1 and 14, of course. We have 2 and 7, and I think that's the only factors we have. And so we're looking at those and we're thinking, okay, we got to multiply one of these pairs, and it has to make negative 14x's. That means one of those terms must be negative. Well, if I make the 1 a negative, 14 minus 1, that won't add to 5x's. So that's not going to work there. Well, what if I try 1 and negative 14? 1 and negative 14 is going to get me to negative 13 when I combine those. So that's not going to work as well. So we can really eliminate that. And this is why I like these two factors. Notice 2 and 7, they are 5 apart. 5 apart means that we're going to be able to get to 5x. We just now have to figure out what to make negative, what to make positive. And let's think about this. I have 7 and 2. I want to get to positive 5x's. We definitely want to make one of that, or the 2, the negative term there. So we are going to have then negative 2x's with a 7x. And we're going to take those two terms now, and we are going to move them into the box. Negative 2x, 7x's. And now with that, we can factor out our quadratic. Let's think about this. X times x is going to make x squared. X times, I think, 7, right? Positive 7 is going to give us that 7x. X times negative 2 gives us the negative 2x's. So we have factored this quadratic to be x minus 2 times the quantity x plus 7, all equaling 0. Now, we are not done. All we've done here is taken that quadratic as a sum, changed it to a product by factoring. We use the box and diamond method to factor that out. Now that we have these factors, now we can do the zero product property. And the zero product property is not the difficult part. I would argue factoring is the more difficult part. The zero product property states that I have two quantities and they both equal 0, right? I'm multiplying those two quantities together. We have, I'll go ahead and highlight it. We know that x minus 2 times x plus 7 is going to equal 0. Well, if two different things, right? I'm going to do it this way so we can see. If two different quantities are being multiplied and they equal 0, then that means one of those two quantities must be 0. Because you can't have something multiplying to be 0 and not one of those terms being 0. So we know that the yellow highlighted portion or the orange highlighted portion, one of those has to be 0. Since we know it has to be 0, then we're going to write that it is 0 for both of those terms there. We're going to split them up, set both factors to 0, and now we just solve for x. To solve the left side, I'm going to add 2 on both sides. we end up with x equaling positive 2. That is one factor, one root of our quadratic. We're going to cancel out that next one. We're going to subtract 7 on both sides. We end up with x equaling negative 7. That is how you use the zero product property once you have actually factored out the quadratic. I hope that's starting to make sense for you. First thing we got to do is take that quadratic, factor it to get some factors. After we do that, zero product property really isn't that bad. It's that math magician, and I'll see you on the next video.